Here you have the beautiful Seagram building. It stands 515 feet tall, and it's one of those functional aesthetics, and this is the kind of aesthetics that modern architecture had. And it was originally the headquarters of Canadian distillers Joseph E. Seagram and Sons, and one of the major movers and shakers that helped build this building was Phyllis Lambert. She was the daughter of Samuel Bronfman, who was the Seagram's CEO. Right now, the building is owned by the RFR Group. That's by Abby Rosen. And the person who designed it was a prominent German architect, Mises van der Rohe. And he was given really an unlimited budget to create this wonderful building by Phyllis Lambert. And this is the structure and style that had a lot of influence on American architecture. And you might not believe it, but it did. And it was the style that argued for functional utility of the building's structural elements when made visible, and like the decorative aspects of the building. And Mises thought that the building should be visible, and he thought that it should be also simplistic or simple in a fundamental way. And so it was built with a steel frame, and non-structural glass walls were hung, as you can see here, these glass walls that are right here. And so it's amazing. And so Mises used non-structural bronze-toned I-beams to suggest structure instead, and these are visible from the outside. And so the method of construction was using reinforced concrete, a kind of shell, to support a larger non-structural edifice. And the building itself was completed in 1958, and the $41 million in construction costs made it the most expensive skyscrapers at the time. And it was amazing. There's so many amazing aspects to this building, including the different restaurants that are inside the structure, the different other places for eating inside the structures. The plaza itself is an architectural style in itself. It seems like a simple box, and here you can see the plaza itself. Doesn't seem that complicated, but it set the tone of the time. And Mises, the architect, wanted to create an urban space and create this open urban space in front of the building. Despite the luxuriousness of the idea, it became a very popular gathering place. And New York City in 1961 created a zoning resolution, and a comprehensive zoning resolution. And so part of that idea was to give credit to developers for creating open space. But this is what was already being achieved with this development. It's really an amazing, amazing place. And so one of the restaurants in here has actually been landmarked by the city. The interior has been landmarked. So even though it changed owners recently, the interior has remained the same. And it's an amazing thing to see that. And even the tenants of this building are just amazing. Centerbridge Partners, Wells Fargo, Medley Capital, all the other really important tenants that are in the United States. And so it was in the 1961 film, the Seagram's building, Breakfast at Tiffany's. And there were a number of other films that had used this building as a backdrop for what the movies were about. You can see here the beautiful water fountains. And the amount of space that's being used here is just unthinkable. I mean, no one today would have this much space go to waste. And of course, I'm using that as a figurative term because the space is really not going to waste. It's being used as a sign to say how great the building is, how luxurious it is to have all this open space here. This is unheard of, open space like this. And that's what prompted the city of New York to create a change in zoning law to encourage developers to have open space so that people could actually enjoy the city and not be crowded out by buildings all the way up to the curbside. Here we have a little more distant view of the Seagram building, just an architectural marvel. The fountains and the open space that they have in front of the building, just unheard of, just so impressive to see in person. It kind of just says luxury. And you have to remember the Seagram company was a very, very successful company a number of years ago. Here you have another view of the Seagram building. Just an amazing, amazing building. Tall, beautiful. And the plaza here, just amazing. Especially when you see it from the distance. It looks really amazing. Here we have still another perspective of the Seagram building. You can see all the wonderful neighbors. Now, in the distance, that's the Waldorf Astoria that's being converted into condos. There's a little there's some issues with that. A large Chinese insurance company bought the building. The government of China has asked for the insurance company to sell their overseas properties. So there's a big question mark as to what's going to happen with one of the neighbors of the Seagram's building. I think in the end, they're going to be allowed to continue to do the conversions until a buyer is found, because that makes the most sense. But what a great building the Seagram building is.